Okay, and welcome back to another episode of the Big Three podcast. Today we got some more F1 news for you, some huge news really. So to here today with me to discuss that is our special guest who seems to be on here a lot, Ethan Elias. How's it going?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm all right. So you know what? Let's get right into it. Breaking news out of, I mean, I guess it's Silverstone, but I don't like to think it's Silverstone. I think it's Canada. Um, Racing Point, Sergio Perez announces that he is leaving Racing Point at the end of the 2020 season. So like obviously there's been rumors about a driver from Racing Point leaving. I think we all knew it was going to be Perez, but I mean it's still sad to see him go nonetheless.
Yeah, for sure. I think Perez has really been a big part of Racing Point, obviously being there for a couple of years now. How many years has it been for him?
6 years.
6 years. Obviously, a big part of Racing Point, and obviously he was like their number one driver for a long time, right? So
Yep.
he produced some really great results for them and really helped them grow. And like now they're competing against teams like the Mercs and Ferrari. So they've definitely grown with him, and he's really helped the team.
And I think it's safe to say that I mean, well actually no, I don't. You see, Perez, he's been performing well. He's had some good races in there, but Stroll has really stepped it up this season. He is showing that pace that we all knew he had. Well, anyone that is not a hater, really. Um, so uh, Perez's spot was kind of in jeopardy because Racing Point needs to move up there, and Stroll seems to have overtaken Perez, and Um, and now they have to open up a spot for someone that's like a top tier driver. So so obviously people are saying Sebastian Vettel. People are saying Hulkenberg might be back. So it's, I mean, it's definitely a big move. Uh, Racing Point seems to be starting to progress, and 2021 is going to be a big year for them.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. So obviously there have been a ton of rumors, especially with Sebastian Vettel obviously leaving his Ferrari contract this year. So, um, I think. What do you think? Who do you think you'll see joining? I mean Aston Martin, of course, next year, but Racing Point for now. Who do you think will be joining them at the end of this year?
Well, to be honest, I mean, everyone's saying Vettel, and I mean, I agree with that. He's obviously such a great driver. He may not be what he was in his Red Bull days or even his early Ferrari days, uh, or like 2016, a season like that. But he's still obviously a really good driver. And but the thing is, Vettel, he's used to driving in a really good car that's ahead of everyone, and he's shown that he can progress and be really good in that type of situation. But he comes now to this season where the Ferrari is a lower to midfield team, so it's and he's obviously struggling. I mean, and Charles Leclerc, he hasn't been as bad as Vettel has this season. So I'm not really sure if this spot goes to Vettel right away now because he hasn't really performed to what we think. So I honestly, you might see a a good driver coming out of F2. They might try to go the younger route, or you might even see Nico Hulkenberg come back, who I think he did pretty good for his only race in Racing Point.
Yeah, that'd be really interesting. Yeah, I could see like any of those, especially F2, that could also be possible. There's a lot of possibilities for Racing Point, especially with Lance Stroll being pretty young. Even if they added a young driver, I'm pretty sure he could still lead.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because what's it called? I mean, Lance Stroll is still he's the second youngest driver on the grid behind Lando Norris, I think. So he's still really young, and he's already showing like that he has so much pace in F1 with he already has two podiums. He's the second youngest podium getter in on ever, really. So in the sport, it's moving into a younger direction, as like all sports are. You see Max Verstappen being such a great driver, and Ferrari, they signed. I mean, they may not be on the same level as they used to be, but they signed Charles Leclerc, who and they never really had a reputation of signing young drivers, and Leclerc was was the first time that happened, I believe. So, and obviously he did such a great job, and he's been doing pretty good for the car he has this year too. So, the sport is definitely moving into a younger direction. So you might see definitely that Racing Point has the youngest team next year with Lance Stroll and some new F2 guy. I mean, there's a lot of skill in F2 as you've seen this year. The championship race in F2 is so close, so there's definitely options there.
Yeah, for sure. Perez being 30 years old, obviously age wasn't the factor. He was still a great driver, but obviously it was time for him to go, especially with Stroll leading the way and obviously getting a great position on in the Italian Grand Prix. So next question would be, where do you think he would be landing next year?
You know what? Believe he goes to Alfa Romeo, and because it's all about Kimi Räikkönen, really. Because I think Giovinazzi, he's improved a lot this year, even though he finishes P20 a lot. But that's because of his car, not his fault. He's been amazing, not amazing, but he's been better. I think he'll continue to get better. But Kimi Räikkönen, he's said a lot of times that he would like to focus on his family, but he's not completely sure about leaving F1 yet. But I don't know. At the end of the season, it's been definitely taxing this year because it's a completely different type of season. I don't know. You might see him finish his career there, and a lot of people are saying Nico Hulkenberg takes that spot. Now Sergio Perez is there to take that spot. So that I think it's either Alpha. I think it's either Alfa Romeo or Haas, but I think it's Alfa Romeo.
Yeah, obviously Haas was also in the talk, but obviously Haas has pretty good drivers as well. Obviously a little bit older, but still I'm sure those two teams are more veteran type of teams, so they could both of them are very capable of adding Perez, but Alfa Romeo looks like the option or the more popular option right now.
Yep. All right. So, um, I last thing is that the Racing Point, they chose Perez over Esteban Ocon not that long ago, before Stroll came onto the team. So and it, and a lot of people were saying it was just because Perez is a pay driver. I think that because Ocon was younger, it's probably around the same level of skill, pace as Perez. They're around the same. Then Perez had that pay driver status. He brought in a lot of funding from all his Mexican sponsors. So I think that will definitely help out a smaller team like Alfa Romeo or Haas, which Haas is definitely a smaller team. So I think it would definitely help out those teams to bring in a big sponsor with Perez.
Yeah, for sure. I think Paris would definitely fit on both of those teams. Next thing, Paris also said that he wishes nothing but the best in the future for the current administration, and he said, I'm just gonna quote him right now. Uh, the current administration, led by Lawrence Stroll, I wish nothing but the best in the future, especially with the upcoming Aston Martin project. So he's really a great guy. Obviously, obviously he probably wanted to stay. What do you think?
No, I think he definitely wanted to stay. He's been here for 6 years. He knows the team. He feels comfortable here, and I think it's safe to say that everybody loves him. He's such a great guy, except for maybe Esteban Ocon, but uh, yeah, there's that, and anyone else he's scrubbed through, but right before Eau Rouge. So I I think I think he's sad to go. I think a lot of the team is sad to go, but from if you're looking at it from an administration position, you want to make your team better. You want to move it forward, and Perez is a great driver, obviously, but he probably wasn't the right choice for the team at this point in time.
Yeah. I think I think obviously Perez was a little bit pressured to leave, obviously with rumors of Vettel coming in and Stroll being definitely the better driver this year, so he was a little bit pressured, and obviously we knew soon enough the decision of either driver who was going to leave was going to be made soon.
All right, how about we move on? So obviously last week, big news: Williams Racing. Claire and Frank Williams will be leaving the team after 43 years, 739 Grand Prix. That's a lot of races that they've been in the F1 circle, and been sold to Darlington Capital, which is a American company, and Simone Roberts is acting F1 team principal right now. So, uh, uh, thoughts about that? I mean, we obviously talked about this before. I think it's sad to see them go. It's definitely closing a chapter, but hopefully Williams can be brought back up to what they were before, because they are such a big part of this sport for the last almost 50 years.
Yeah, I think Williams were such a great team, such a great leadership with Claire Williams. They really helped the players, and all the players are really thankful for them, especially Gasly, Latifi, my bad,
Russ,
dedicating
were you saying Russell Latifi?
Oh yeah, sorry, not Gasly. My bad, my bad. Russell and Latifi, dedicating the race, their last race to them especially, and obviously, just recently Claire, they got the front wing assembly from the 2014 car, where they got second and third in Abu Dhabi. So just as a present, kind of as they leave the team.
Yeah, and you know what? I think in their last few races, the Williams have really stepped it up. They've, I think, started to beat out Alfa Romeo and Haas. Last race especially, Latifi was flying. I think he finished P11. If it wasn't for Lewis Hamilton just being completely overpowered, he probably would have got the team's first points. And George
Mm.
Russell, we obviously know how good he is. He finished P14. I think if they had more time, they would have definitely been up into the points. So I think in their last few races, I think Frank and Claire, especially Claire, they started to really move that team in the right direction, but just ran out of time, I think, and it's sad to see them go right when they were starting to improve that car.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, then let's move on to some way happier tones.
Yeah,
Let's look at the Italian Grand Prix in Monza, because that was a crazy race, man. Oh my God.
that was
Uh,
really crazy.
Yep, so let's look down the race order. We have Pierre Gasly, P1. Um, I, oh my God.
Nothing to say.
Yep. Carlos Sainz, P2, really close behind.
Mhm.
Lance Stroll, P3. P4 was Lando Norris. P5, Valtteri Bottas, who's had some heating issues, and then after that, oh, sorry, Daniel Ricciardo, obviously. And then who was P7?
Hamilton.
Hamilton. Yeah,
Obviously,
sorry.
having that 10-second penalty brought him
Yeah,
back a bit.
yeah. So there's that, and then Esteban Ocon, and then the rest after that. So I think it is pretty safe to say that even though Hamilton had all those issues, he was absolutely amazing. I think P17 is where he went into the pit. He came out of the pits from, right?
Mm.
Yeah. So he fought his way all the way back up. Um, And let's talk about the Ferraris again. They they really weren't that
Mm.
great. I mean, they qualified P17 with Sebastian Vettel and P14, I believe, with Charles Leclerc.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sounds right.
and yeah, so it really wasn't great from the beginning. And then Sebastian Vettel with the brake failure, they had to retire him. And then after the safety car, from Kevin Magnussen. Um, Charles Leclerc had, I don't know what kind of problem that is because I have a hard time believing that a driver of his caliber would make a mistake that bad. He, he flew off the track right into the tire barrier, and that caused the red flag as they had to replace all of that. It's glad to see that he jumped out of the car okay. So, Ferrari, your thoughts?
Yeah, obviously this happened right in the middle of the race. For Ferrari doing bad from the start. Obviously, Ferrari's a pretty good team from the get-go, especially at the start of the race. But then in the middle of the race, I say they didn't do the greatest. And obviously, Vettel didn't finish. Obviously, he went through those barriers because of a brake failure, and Leclerc obviously having that huge crash. Again, thankfully he's okay, but not another bad performance for the Ferraris.
Yeah, and Mugello isn't the fastest track. It's not on the same level as Monza and Spa, but it's definitely a top speed track. So yeah, and this is their thousandth Grand Prix, and it doesn't look like it's gonna get any better for them, which is sad. Really is sad. They're such a historic team. They're the most popular, rich, important team in F1, and it's really sad to say that they're dropping off this bad this year.
Yeah, obviously, a few, obviously with the different car this year, and um, Charles Leclerc and Vettel not performing to what they expected from, especially from the last year. But it's going to be interesting, obviously, to see, especially being the thousandth race. Obviously, they want it to be special, but it's going to be tough to make such a big jump from um, performing really bad this whole year, especially last race, both of them not finishing, and it's going to be a big jump trying to perform really good in this next race.
Okay, so how about we move on to some really happy tones? Pierre Gasly, just absolutely amazing. Driver of the day, as voted on by the fans, and I think it's well deserved. Obviously he was from that red flag, that restart, he was doing amazing. He jumped up, and he stayed in first. Um, And from what he's been through in the last 18 months with getting demoted from Red Bull to losing his best friend, um, it's really great to see that he's had this kind of redemption year and he's got the first French win in 24 years, I believe. So, pretty
Yeah,
crazy.
he wasn't even born back then. It's
Exactly.
crazy to see. It's crazy to see. Yeah, especially French and especially AlphaTauri. I'm really happy for them as well. Obviously, not having the greatest success. Obviously, Gasly has been good, and obviously Kvyat was a pretty decent driver as well this year. But obviously, all their hard work has really come out on this race.
Yeah, I think it's even crazier to see. It's at Monza too, where not that long ago, well, actually no, pretty long ago, uh, Sebastian Vettel in his Toro Rosso before it was changed to AlphaTauri. He won his race here at Monza, so this race is obvious.
Yeah,
This track is obviously pretty special for them. Over
and
four,
Monza has some crazy finishes.
yep, over 4,000 days later, they get the same type of win at the same circuit. All right. Let's move on to Carlos Sainz. So Carlos Sainz, he obviously had that amazing start first of all, but then that doesn't really matter because of the restart. Then he had that amazing battle with Stroll. After the restart, after Stroll locked up into turn one at the Parabolica. So he started off that amazingly. It was fun to watch for sure. And then he tried everything. He put everything, all the ERS he had, into those last few laps trying to catch Gasly, but Gasly was able to stay ahead. But still, an amazing race. The best finish he's ever had. Congratulations to him.
Yeah, obviously he wasn't too happy with the result, but I would say it was a great race weekend. Obviously, the qualifying, amazing result for a McLaren driver, and he had a great race. Honestly, everything went not obviously the red flag. Maybe he could have done better if the red flag wasn't there. Same with Lando, but obviously it was a great race for him, and the McLarens getting 2-4. It was a great race for the team as well.
Yep. So Lance Stroll. So I mean, he was pretty pissed off at the end. I mean, he's obviously happy that he got his second podium, but at the same time, he had that break. I don't know if it was a failure. I'm not even sure it was his fault that he just locked up and went straight through the parabolica. Uh, but I think it was something to do with his tires, not being completely warmed up. But yeah, he didn't start off at the restart amazingly, but he lost two positions, I think, and it was a good job for him to make them back past Kimi Räikkönen, who I think everyone wanted him to get a podium, but his car is just not on the level that it needs to be. Yeah, so Stroll, he pushed back, but you could obviously tell that he was disappointed with himself making that mistake, and he felt that he could have had a P1 for the team at the end of that race.
Yeah, obviously Stroll doing pretty good, obviously, but just that one mistake at the start. Obviously, it's better to make a mistake at the start than at the end or anything. But
Yeah.
it did cost him a few seconds at the start of the race when he went off the track for sure.
Yep. All right. So, and also a lot of people are pretty pissed off at what's happening with Sergio Perez because the Racing Point strategists have kind of messed up his strategy the last two races. I mean, the last one, the one in Belgium, I could understand because you have the best tire manager on the track this year. So if it's anyone, so you can take a risk and see if you can get a really good finish by not pitting there. But that didn't work out. Perez had a great run at the end to get back up into the points. And this race, I just don't have any idea what the strategists were doing this time. Perez's race was completely screwed over. So people
Yeah,
are
for
pretty.
it was really bad. Obviously, he dropped from four P4 all the way to in the qualifying two all the way to 11. So I mean, sorry, to 10. So they did really mess him over there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's part of why he left. I think he still has faith in that team because he's been with them for so long that they will make the right choices over the course of the season. But these last two races, they've really messed up, and a lot of Racing Point fans who are also haters of Stroll are pretty mad about that.
Yeah, I think Perez didn't get the performance he wanted this race and the last couple of races from the Racing Point team. Obviously, they Stroll's been doing great, but Perez hasn't been performing to what he wanted.
So how's about we move on to the newest? Well, it's not the newest. There's been races here before, but a new addition to this season, track Mugello. So obviously this is going to be Ferrari's 1,000th Grand Prix in another Italian track. So it's special for them, and it'd be even more special if they can do well here. Uh, but hopefully they do, but it doesn't look like it. So how about we look into it?
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, it's a cool track, I guess. I think, not one we see that much, but it's a cool. The Mugello circuit is a good track to race on for sure.
Yep. And I think that it's gonna be much like um Belgium. Not it's not the same type of track, but same type of setups is what you're gonna see. Cause you could, if you watch the Charles Leclerc going through the track, you're gonna see him. You're gonna see him say a lot that you want to sacrifice your first turn into a chicane so that you can like fly out onto the straights because that's important. The top speed out of the straights is really important on this track. So once again, you're gonna see Mercedes dominate unless there's a problem there with their car or whatever. You're gonna see Racing Point probably do well again. Renault maybe. It looked like they dropped off here at Monza, but you'll probably see them do okay at Mugello. Um, and McLaren maybe not as well as they did here because their car isn't the top aerodynamically, but they'll still probably do pretty good too.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a pretty fun race, I guess. Obviously, the 1,000th race is going to be pretty big for Ferrari, but obviously, it might be a difficult one for them, especially with the better cars out there like Racing Point and the Mercs. Definitely, they're going to be definitely fighting with them, but um, I would like to see how McLaren comes out again if they are going to do a similar performance. I would like them to do. I would love to see them do have a really good performance here as well.
Yep. I think uh it's a big race for McLaren because Racing Point already obviously had that penalty, that 15-point penalty, so they aren't in P3 in the what's it called? The drivers, no, not drivers, the constructors championship, but Racing Point it was catching up to them pretty quickly once again. So it uh they need more performances like the ones at Monza to be able to stay ahead of that car because it is obviously so fast. And Lance Stroll has been amazing, and we all know that Perez is a good driver. So it's going to be hard for McLaren to be able to keep Racing Point behind in the championship.
Yeah. Another question a lot of F1 fans have been asking is, do you think the Mugello circuit could maybe become a permanent racetrack in the future?
See, I got no idea because it's obviously a really different season, and they've had to add some more races in to replace the ones that are around uh the world, like the USA Grand Prix, the Canadian Grand Prix, Australian, all of those kind of things. So they've obviously had to add more races in that are in the European region. So I have no idea really if these races that are being added in as new ones this year are going to be able to stay. Like I would think not. Maybe you see some of them stay, but I'm not sure about Mugello because it's a bit of an older one. So I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, I think obviously it's the Ferrari's home circuit and Ferrari I if because it's their 1,000th race obviously they're it's like almost like a tribute to them, so I think
Yeah.
um it's a good circuit. Obviously I'm pretty sure it's really nice scenery around, obviously just looking at it, and it's a great place to go there and watch, but obviously it's not one of the most popular ones because it's not in the city, or it's more on the countryside of Italy.
Yeah. All right. So as for we talked about who we thought was going to do well. Well, obviously the ones with the strong engines, good aerodynamics. But the teams that are probably going to struggle are obviously the ones with the Ferrari power units. So Ferrari, Haas, Alfa Romeo, and Haas I think has 2 points in the championships. Alfa Romeo with one. I honestly think that you may see sorry, not Mercedes, Williams with their Mercedes power unit and their obviously improving car get some points this race. Maybe George Russell or Nicholas Latifi, even he had a good race yet last time. Uh, but yeah, I think it's pretty safe to say the Ferrari power units are gonna have a bit of a problem keeping up pace with the Renault and Mercedes ones.
Yeah, I think yeah, it's gonna be definitely a big battle of the engines. It's gonna be kind of I think the results might be similar to the Belgian Grand Prix with the Mercedes and the Renault doing really good. Obviously the Racing Point would be up there as well, but I think it's gonna be similar to that one because of a lot of the straights that are there, especially that really big one. after the big turns.
Yep. It's a lot like Belgium, really, where you have the really fast sector one, then you have the windy sector two, and then you have the once again really fast sector three. So it is a lot like that. You'll probably see a lot of the same setups from Spa come into Mugello. So yeah, it's gonna be an interesting race for sure. I'm sure a lot of F1 fans haven't seen it before. I myself haven't seen it, so uh, it's gonna be fun to watch.
It's going to be taking place on at 9:10 a.m. Eastern time. So if you want to go watch that, definitely go do that. It might not be there forever, so definitely go tune into that one.
Yep, I think that is a good point. It's not gonna be. It's gonna be it's a special one. You might not see it a lot, so definitely if this is your might be your only chance to go check it out. Okay, so I think we covered a lot. Pretty safe to say that I think we got everything, to be honest. Been going for about half an hour. Ethan, you got anything else?
No, I think that's been a really good recap of a crazy F1 week, obviously. It's been a crazy week for all F1 fans and for the F1 community, and a lot of stuff has happened. I'm looking forward to the race weekend.
Yep. So just housekeeping. Our first video is doing absolutely amazing here on YouTube. Our Spotify maybe not has maybe not got as much love, but it's definitely good to see that we're excelling here on YouTube, and our other videos may not be doing as well, but it's great to see that people are enjoying our first episode, and I, I myself would recommend that second video because you're gonna hear a lot of screaming. It's a lot of the actual type of conversations we have, not this civil like when Ethan's on here because he's obviously a really calm guy. But when Bilal's on here, it's crazy. It really is pretty crazy. So I think we'll definitely have them on together once. We'll see if we can balance. They balance each other out. But yeah, so I don't know what's gonna happen next. There is some stuff going on in the NHL with the Penguins. We might have Ethan on again with Brian next time, who wasn't able to make it this time, uh, to uh, to look into that. But other than that, I think that is everything. So thank you for listening and enjoy your day. The Big Three Podcast. Thank you for listening.